we have a time-honoured way to start, really. And I think someone's been entrusted by my wife, who has reason to be absent.
That's a sad thing.
So, over to you, Nick.
I can't do it sitting down, can I? What country friend is this?
It is Illyria, lady.
Whoopee, I came to the right place.
What's the password?
Very nice, actually.
Well,
Cheerio.
cheerio.
Okay, my dears. I got a bank account came today, rather expediently. Yes, it was in the Laurie found it in 2A.
Which is just the usual.
And really, I just put this agenda down as things as prompts more than anything else, but in the way of it, we could use it as a guide.
Yeah.
And the first thing on the agenda is Treasurer's report
Okay.
and the current bank account status.
Mr. Say has been working hard.
Sorry, I just wanted to... So, I have here what you've got is a sheet which has basically got the main guts of things to be discussed. You've also got a cash flow, which is a miniature version of this thing. And on it, I'll pass it around, you can see that you've got, there's a need to up the payments that go in,
Yes.
because we've had an incident.
We've all been told
Okay.
that, yeah.
So on the top and on the smaller one is the existing, what is paid all the way across a year, and then 1 plus 10% and 1 plus 15%, which is what I'm recommending. Below it is the outgoings and the business of recommending that Laurie gets paid a monthly payment is to do really with, it's based on 19 months of his payments, just evened out so that a cash flow can work, because you suddenly get 2,900 disappearing there and then £3,500 insurance. It just upsets the whole thing. So it's much better if it's continuous. And down here, I think this is the cash flow justification, so you can see that, this one is the normal one. So this is how the balance, well, you know all this, I'm sure, but this is how the balance is changing every month with the different amounts of money going in. And the very bottom is a breakdown of the insurance payment and the liabilities of Unit A and Unit B, and the overpayment by Illyria by Barlow's because it was a loan. So I'll talk you through that in a bit, but that's a bigger version of that. I didn't want to print 5 of those out because I have to stick them all together.
Can you email it to me, Phil?
I can
another
email
time
it.
so that I can blow it up and print it on A3 for myself. Because I can't read the wee one.
Yeah, no,
But then
it's
I can
just
another
there
time
if you
I
want
can
to have a bit of fun with a magnifying glass.
I'd
I just
rather
can't get
print
it on.
out and then because I can do that at
Okay,
work on
I
the
have to
last-
say that normally I work with Microsoft Office, but I've had a lot of computer incidents and I've ended up having to learn how to use pages and numbers on the new Mac that got bought. And it's very clever stuff, but it's not as capable as Excel and Word. So I'll send you. I'm very happy to send all the live documents of everything, including this is Laurie's timesheet, which is
I don't need.
you don't.
that,
I know
I'm
you don't
sure.
need that,
No.
but I'm just saying that
It just, I mean, this is quite a relevant one for today, anyway,
Yeah.
and ongoing. So I'd like to be able to read
Okay.
it
Well,
easily.
I will definitely send that. This is why I've broken this down into the bite-sized
Yeah.
portions,
But
because
it's
what?
handy just to see.
Yeah. Okay, so the on this,
You don't need it.
just pass it around. I mean, have a look at it. Don't have a look at it. It's just there.
Yeah, I can keep on looking at it.
Okay. So so the account is on the sheet that's got all the like bullet point things on it. The top thing is the current account balance, which I asked Stephen for this morning, so I could do the cash flow forecast, so I could see how these different payments are changing the revised total that you may be agreeing to put in every month.
Right.
I strongly suggest that you do 15 because just looking at the cash flow, there are still, in the course of the next 12 months, there's still the blip of a large lump of the insurance, and there would have been at least 2 lumps for payment for maintenance. So with regard to Laurie, I took you've got another sheet, I think, which is this one.
Yeah.
And it shows, it condenses all of that stuff into the periods from which he was paid, the payments that he was made, and the total for a period of 19 months. So I simply took the total of payments made, divided it by the number of months, and that gave the figure which I then put in to the cash flow. Okay, and I think that's better for the account to just have that regular
A monthly
payment
payment.
rather than lump sums that just kill it.
I'm sure it'd be a help for him.
Yeah, it's better than waiting 6 months to get a payment. It's still the same amount of money, but what I've said at the bottom, that's sort of jumping down to the bottom, what I've said there is this equates to £390 a calendar month. This has been factored into the cash flow, which I've just explained, to smooth the account out. Figures based on regular maintenance duties undertaken, which have increased as parts of the factory need more attention as time goes by, particularly the roof, keeping an eye on all the other stuff, and particularly the drains, the very big problem we had out the front, so they need to be looked at all the time.
So Laurie looks at the drains outside of the building?
Yeah,
He checks.
he
over the
does
ones at
everything
the
that's
front.
within the
Yeah, he's had a
curtilage
look
of the
at them.
building, from your bit, from
He
your
looked
bit
at
at the back to the French drain.
Terrific.
Yeah, right down to the main drain leading out to the thing, because that's, it was only digging that front thing up that we realised that there was that giant fatberg and everything that came on from that, and those blokes who didn't have to do all that work, who solved the problem, and anyway, that's solved. So, but I just said at the end there, any out of ordinary works, not part of the usual cycle, should be assessed separately at the time they occur in case they need a separate payment. So if something untoward happens and he's got to not do his work elsewhere and he's got to work for 3 days or 4 days, I'm talking about something structural or, emergencies. The good thing is obviously I can't get up on the roof anymore. So I ask him to go and check on everything, and he photographs stuff. So it's really useful that I can see what's happening. And as I've explained to everyone, this building and that building are completely linked, because through this wall here, where all these trusses on both sides are going, there's a massive I-beam, and this sort of strange bit of brickwork here, where the speaker is that goes out, is a massive pier that got built when the whole of this was stripped. Because the Price and Myers guy realised that the big steel running there, the steel that runs along your side of the outside, that runs all the way and meets this through the building, and the back support of the brick building, all of those steels meet at this point here. And there was just a simple 500 square, I've forgotten what the name of the bricks are, flattens. Not whatever. So they were flattens, yeah. You couldn't believe it. That's why, I don't know if you remember, we had railway sleepers and soldier cramps holding the entire building up because he was so worried it was going to collapse. And that's why that pier is gigantic. It's very big.
And these grey bricks
They're engineering bricks. They're engineering bricks, yeah.
Super tough.
So,
And
so it's
that's the one
important.
that runs through to the end of Nicky's building, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can see in the
that
garden,
goes the whole
if you're
way
in Mike's and you're looking at your 4-panel window,
Yep.
you can see above it there's a pink beam, which I think has been painted now. But all of that wall, everything there was repointed at some point. But that beam is supporting the upper level of the building, and that's all connected into this one. That shouldn't give, but just making sure
now.
that there's no rot or water going in and you know, water, as we know, it drops in one place and then it appears magically in another place.
Yeah.
And if that goes on for a long time, even I-beams suffer.
And
So-
Roger, you've always had the same leak problem, haven't
Well,
you?
I always have where we join the building.
Yeah.
That always goes. It
Is
changes.
It back with you?
No, it's handleable. It just shifts when the building obviously shrinks.
Mhm.
Does something. The apex is underneath the flats windows
Mhm.
there, and where it actually joins the building, the join is obviously stretches, and sometimes it's open, and so sometimes it leaks, and sometimes it doesn't. And then I have a peculiar leak that decides to come when it wants, but isn't
Yes,
massive. But
And so do I here, and we can't work out where it comes from.
Mm.
Which is why I think this permanent maintenance overview has to be a good idea.
no, I think it is good. I mean, it's an informal, but as long as everybody's happy. But I mean, Laurie, I haven't really said anything to him other than the fact that we were going to review what it was that he was doing, and from Phil's suggestion that the
Well, a lot of- I
monthly
mean,
thing would be the best way to do it.
Just to jump onto the brick building, so I got Laurie to use a telescopic pole to just check the state of the mansard roof,
Mhm.
which was done.
Which is done.
That's
Yeah.
above Dom's,
It's
above
the flat roof that
287.
covers the mansard roof, and that was done, I think, just before or around the time. I think it was done before Unit E was converted, because I can recall Steve the bricklayer was putting in the dormer, he was putting the window at the front, and also the thing at the back, and the balcony there. But anyway, it's absolutely in perfect condition, which is
It's
great,
astounding.
because obviously that's all part of that building, and all of the parapet wall on this side of the brick building, all of that was taken up, relaid, all the gullies were
Brilliant.
redone, and I think that you paid for that actually. So all of that was done. There was a lot of scaffolding and all the rest of it. You know, it was a bit of a job to do, but it
Well,
got
especially
done.
did you have to be in that other garden?
It was all cantilevered. It was all very
Yes.
clever.
Well done.
I mean, I think we're extraordinarily lucky, honestly, that it's Laurie
So lucky.
and,
So
and,
lucky.
and Phil, because you can't imagine really having
Well, you
to
wouldn't be
trust
able-
other people. I mean,
No, you'd
No,
have
I-
to have a management company to
yes,
do it.
I think this is just a natural progression for the building at this period in its life. It strikes me that we're very lucky to have Phil's attention, but Laurie's availability and
Yes.
commitment
Yes.
to constantly giving an overview, and it can't be anything but a really good idea.
Agree.
Well, as Phil says, I mean, it's 20. What did we say?
Yeah.
It's 20,
21 years?
20 odd years, isn't it,
Yeah.
of its life, and obviously, as we know, everything ages, and over that period of time, different things are going to appear. So we just have to keep an eye on it all, and this is a good way of doing it.
I think also we in this year's accounts, we had to deal with Capital Rewire, which was again a major investment in bringing everything up to
Yeah,
spit
regulations.
spot
Yeah.
Yeah,
speed,
yeah,
certification and all that sort of stuff, which I was really pleased about.
yes.
And it was a pretty clean bill of health, to be honest, but I think it was worth every penny. That was quite an expense. So I think what Phil is proposing is to spread Lloyd's payments, which will help us have a view of impending payments that so that we're ahead of the game, because
Yeah.
we were caught out this time.
It's good to do the 15%.
Yeah,
well,
I think
because
so.
otherwise, if we did 10, we might have to do another next time.
So Nick, you know all about this. Prices have gone up horribly, haven't they?
Just eye-watering,
Mm.
absolutely eye-watering.
And that's labour too, isn't it?
Yes, across
Everything.
the board, and it's just, it's come to the point. It's just deadly embarrassing to have to say to somebody that it's A
So
price
that's what
rather
it
than
is.
B price,
Yeah.
B price rather than A price. So I think this is fair, very fair.
As
Can
you
I-
pointed
can I-
out, I mean, we've kept contributions. We haven't really changed them, have we? For
No.
a long, long
No,
time.
it's
And
a
it
very
was-
long
it-
time,
It was,
and
it was the benefit of
just
the
inflation over the past whatever.
Yeah.
I think
I mean, they
15
went-
is very conservative, but
I mean, they
Um,
went down, didn't they? When we didn't have to include business rates after
Yes.
that
Yeah.
amazing thing. They went down a lot.
Yeah.
And we haven't really had to put our hands in our
And we saw a
pockets.
lot of credit in the account build up.
Mm.
To be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
we were up to £7,000-8,000,
yeah,
which thank goodness we were actually,
yeah.
because this year has been it's shown, well, it's given us a good lesson.
Yeah. Well, I'm very
I
happy
mean,
with
you-
that 15 as well.
The capital rewire thing was expensive, but it was done by a very good company. And the only reason when I sat down and read through everything on that insurance thing, realised that
I know.
in that fine print, if you're not up to scratch, the loss adjusters or the assessors can void any claim if the place burns down and there's no certification that's been ticked off, and you just won't get the rebuild time period. That will be it. So
For past
very
I agree,
important.
but honestly, it was a broad brush thing, Phil. You've introduced highest quality workmen here. I mean, honestly, from Tiberio to Gresh, the electrician to I've no qualms about this, and Gresh is now my first call for electrics, and he's recommended me somebody terribly good about CCTV. They're top quality stuff, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, well, you get what you pay for, but the thing is that people who keep upgrading their, continual professional development or their regulations that they have to cover, which that company obviously does, because they know well, Nicky, you know this, you're dealing with these sort of things all the time. The people who want to do that job and get well paid for it because they're skilled, they're not going to let you down, because
I know.
it's suicide.
And they know they'll be passed on.
Exactly. Yeah. The only thing about that sum of money that you're paying in, I realise, even I struggled with this, because I had to work out the formula for doing it, because I'm not an accountant. But essentially you have what I would call a fairly low level ticking over fund, but you're paying everything. There's a couple of things that I've got a little question mark about. And one of them is the direct debit or standing order or whatever it is for EDF at £106 or something. Did they fix that?
Yes.
Or they did?
Yeah.
Because it just seems a little bit
Is
high
that for
common parts.
Landlord supply.
It's
Well,
£1,200, it's nearly £1,300 for turning on a few lights and the landing lights in the alleyway. Okay, fair enough.
I can't remember. I think I've got an online account for them. So I think that's an action point for me to
I
look.
think that maybe just a meter reading and just for them to reassess it, because I did that with my own stuff at home and discovered that the charging on electrics, which is, you know, it's much more expensive to use than gas, was silly, and those lights are only turned on
I know.
in winter and they're not left on.
They're not.
They're not.
No, only
So
occasionally. I mean,
I
incidental.
think that's worth just a question.
We've
Um,
got the bills though, haven't we, Phil? We've got the bills.
Can I get you a magnifying glass?
I have one at home.
Well, I've got one next door. Would you like it just for
Well,
reference?
with,
Well, let
with
me get it.
Phil's, with Phil's printer,
He'll
I-
send it to you, but for
No,
now,
you can
we
see
just
that, can't
need
you?
to look
I
at
can
it.
see this, Roger. Honestly, I can see this one. What I can't see is this little micro one down.
No, that's only there to show you that I did it.
That's the only reason I need, but I have at home.
All right. No,
On the kitchen table.
I am in the same boat, although I've just got new glasses.
Just small things are tricky.
Well,
This is
this is
good.
January. But look, what I do is when I receive these, because anything addressed to the treasurer is pushed under my door, quite rightly. And I simply open them up and I tell you, and then it goes into the desk, and Phil, when he has time, comes and files all this. But in January, we were 56 in credit, so we're not hundreds of pounds in credit.
They must have had a meter reading, or they took a meter reading at some
Occasionally
point.
somebody
It's
comes.
just if they're given another meter reading, they can just look at it and assess whether it is too high. It
Whether
just
it's an
seems, I mean,
estimate.
every little bit that you can bite off
Yeah.
helps.
Well,
Because
what about my business of the, because I've got the use of the charger, which we've got out there.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, when Phil told me about this, I thought, oh, well, I better look at this, because if I use it sort of like twice a month for about an hour.
it's never gonna be.
And we've already done this. When we first mooted this thing, we did a check over how much is used, and it was negligible for the actual mass.
Yeah, in the context of the
But
whole
I mean,
thing.
I can still, I keep a calendar of stuff,
Yeah.
and I put down when I used it. It's like a couple of hours a month. And now I wondered whether that had a use, because it comes from the landlord supply. So,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can't tell from something that's a direct debit, that's a regular deduction.
It's not
It
relevant.
can't tell you anything.
It's not relevant to
You
the
need to know
usage.
how much you're actually consuming, which is probably, it's not nothing, it's something,
It's
but it's
something,
not
But
very
it's quite
much.
minimal.
And it's certainly not 106 quid a month.
No.
Well,
To keep the
but
lights
standing
on.
charges cover quite a lot of sins.
Yeah.
With these. Correct me if I'm wrong. The common parts includes the staircase up to
Yeah.
flat D
Yeah.
and up to flat E.
Yeah.
There's only one light there, though.
Isn't there one outside Dom's door?
I can't remember.
Because there's
I
two
just-
staircases.
There's probably one on each
Probably
landing.
is, yeah.
Yes.
So I assume it was.
Yeah.
And I suppose
Well,
so that-
Dom doesn't have a landing, though. He just has a step up into
okay.
his
yes,
flat.
but there must be some. It's funny. how
I'm not
little
sure
we know
there
about
is.
the
Top of
building.
the top
I'm
of
not
the
sure there
stairs.
is, but even if
But
there
even
was,
if there
it's-
isn't, that means less reason for charging.
Yes.
I mean, is it a question? I mean, occasionally the bell will go to the studio, and it will be an electricity or gas person, and they look at the meter. Now, when that happens, I don't know. So you don't. I mean, and I go in and let them in, and they go and do it. But what about the old thing of it being an estimate
Look, hang on.
as
hang on.
opposed to?
Can I just standing charge was it was how do they make that? I can never understand these things. Standing charge 47 days at 200p per day, 94 quid. And the total bill was 126. So you see the electricity charges are very little. The standing charge
It's the standing charge.
is,
and that's
is
what-
85% of it.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, maybe it's not worth wasting any time on it.
No, that's the trouble with all these bills,
Yeah.
actually, because the
it's a
standing,
standing
charge
charge. Same
is
as the gas. and
basically
the phone.
expensive. For anybody living in a council flat, it's the standing charges.
Yeah,
Usages.
I guess they're treating it as commercial.
Yes.
I wonder if they are.
Should.
Your business electricity bill.
Yeah, it is.
So
Well, you
they're
see,
treating
just
it as
common
commercial.
parts.
I
Illyria,
imagine
this
that
is
might be
common
more
parts.
expensive.
It is the company electricity bill.
Well, anyway, so just to go back to the, if you revise your payments up 15%, and looking at the cash flow for that, it ends the year with 2.5 grand in its account. It started with 2,180.49. So it's kind of, it's ticking along, tick, 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 tick. And that's fine, but as long as you take on board that if anything serious that needs to be dealt with crops up, then that may be something where you have to just deal with that as it happens.
Yeah.
Now, I can't think what that would be at this point, but you know,
You never know.
you never know. So there's no real contingency. That's basically an operating fund that's always got enough, never goes into an overdraft, which I don't even know if Illyria has.
Well, I think we
It's
did
just there. You know,
in the
it's
early days, we
a
did,
low-level safety net.
didn't we?
If anything
In the
serious
early days,
happens,
we
that's a
had no
different
jobs,
story.
and you said, well, yeah,
And can't
Yes.
think what that would be.
Yes, we did.
And if
You said
anything,
we just got
Fronted up.
Yeah.
to be honest, if anything serious did happen that was untoward and not caused by actions of people here, then that may very well be something that would be subject of the insurance policy,
Yeah.
which has been paid for 21 years and has never had a claim against it for anything at all, ever.
Yeah.
And I think that would be fair enough, providing it fell within that sort of thing.
I'm satisfied enough with Noel and Richard.
I think they're
No,
good.
so am I.
Is that? Does anyone have any reason to?
No.
You see,
Well, when when Aaron sent his thing out, they do show you that they
know.
have gone to all of the
I know. All the other
of
companies.
the whatever, I can't remember, the people who assess what the
Yes.
premium should be,
Yes.
and they come out on top, and it's a very big company anyway. Not
Yeah.
them, can't remember the name. So I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't want to use them. I mean,
No.
they're
No,
consistent,
I'm perfectly
and I'm sure
fair.
they would jump in the right direction if there was anything untoward that should be covered by insurance, and so hopefully that will, you wouldn't have to put your hands in your pockets.
Just a question of practical nature. Date of payment. Did you say it would be better if it was the first of the
Thank you.
month? Or am I making
My
that?
pleasure.
Well,
18th of-
well, I did say that, but
I don't know when mine is. I think mine is.
well,
17th.
everyone's payments are sort of very
Middle
close
of the month.
together. The only thing about having, well, it doesn't matter because the cash flow thing is for a month. So anything that occurs within there is, at
So
the
when I go
end,
and
at the end
change
of the
mine,
month,
I
the
can just keep
inward
it.
payment is whatever it is. The actual changes when you should do it, so you are coming up to a regular payment period. I would suggest, if you're agreed with the lorry thing, that his payment should start because he's I can't remember now. So from the 11th of September, so he's already done additional works. So it would be good if that didn't build up into something that he doesn't get paid for, and then suddenly he gets paid for the forthcoming month, unless it's regarded.